Howdy there, folks. This is Gary Geraths from Otis College of Art and Design. This is the intro to the third of our videos on the structure, measurement, and techniques of drawing a portrait. This video builds on the lessons from the previous demonstrations and completes the portrait of Parker. Here are the materials that I used for this drawing. Various charcoal and pastel pencils, erasers, and a small ruler to check the proportions at an arm's length, holding up the ruler as I've shown in the previous videos. These tools just happen to be the ones I used for this demonstration drawing. They vary from model to model, and you can certainly choose from your own palette of tools. We continue from where we left off using the same methods we described earlier. One important point to keep in mind is the lines are darker than they usually are in the layout, so the camera can show the process more clearly. Now we return to using the form of the skull to help illustrate the larger value planes on the head. I reinforce the cheekbone and the locations of the features, defining the plane in the value changes in the temple as well as in the brow. These facial landmarks will be important as I sculpt the values. Once again, we are referring back to our model to check the shadow shapes and value and plane changes. So now I start to work in a shadow pattern and set up a rhythm of marks. I am looking for primary larger value shapes to start organizing the direction of the marks and tones on the portrait. Then I start to soften the harsh lines. I am drawing in a cone of light as a point of reference to the viewer. This will help organize the sorts of lights and darks on the figure. Now I'm using the eye sockets and the brow plane as a guide in setting the eyes back to the proper depth. Also, I am breaking the value planes to smaller shapes of lights and darks to unify the entire area around the upper portrait. Still checking to make sure the features line up and are symmetrical. I am using more of a cross-hatching and linear technique to help sculpt the forms and move the eye around and over the volumes. Still organizing around the larger plane shown in the skeleton. Wrapping the idea around the flowing shapes marked on the skull helps tremendously. As I get the eyes placed and fixed in proportion, I start to work up and refine the details of the eyes. I watch for the cast shadows coming off the brow and lids and some subtle reflective light bouncing off the cheek. I am satisfied all the features are in the correct position and proportion. I move to define the beauty of the lines and the tones in and around the eyes. I'm careful to examine how the angle and source of the light affect all the parts of the face, going as far as to define the details of the window reflection on the pupil of the eye and lighten the lower portion of the iris where the light brightens the color of the eye. Needing a break from drawing the details of the eyes, I draw the light and shadow patterns on the neck. At this point, I'm moving around the portrait to unify the values. All the details will need to be combined and connected to a larger value plan. As we move through the composition of the face, notice how the details like the upturned corner of the mouth and the shadowed corners of the eyes bring out the personality and humanity of the model. Be sure to pay attention to the details like the hair falling over the ears and the muscles at the base of the neck to breathe life into your drawing. Wrap your portrait around a central idea and don't forget you are drawing someone with flesh and blood and a soul. At the completion of the drawing, all the features, light logic, and visual flow are combined to project a visual narrative. The whole composition is pulled together using marks and tonal variations to move the eye around the finished concept. Lines in the density of value planes and shape explain and accent the facial forms. Sharper contrasting edges define bone. Softer rounded forms may describe fleshier parts of the head or planes turning away from the light, but in the long run unify your vision and drawing.